Many children feel that their parents are out of touch with what's going on outside the home. Maybe they don't know the language or they don't know what substances are being used. So they feel like they can kind of hide things, or that their parents just don't understand what's going on out there. So it's important to learn about the substances of use. It's also important to learn the language that kids are using today, because I'm pretty sure when a child is thinking about using marijuana, they're not going to ask their friend, hey, buddy, do you want to do some marijuana today? They're going to use some codes. They're going to talk about pot. So it's important to also learn the signs and symptoms of use. Do you care, Brian, to talk a little bit more about signs of use for marijuana?
I like your first point that you said, be familiar with what type of terms your child might be using. So they're not using it in front of you or myself. You know, I don't want be left out of a conversation because of my ignorance. However, you know, I always use terms that I'm comfortable with. I think of always, you know, those things. Are you smoking the reefer? Are you smoking the pot? And it just doesn't seem fluid coming. The kid, you automatically shut down. So, you know, we have to recognize, you know, marijuana in those conversations, you know, are completely okay to use because at least that reflects my age. But at the same time, when it comes to being able to identify some of those behaviors, it's different for everybody, you know, and depending on the use, right, it's not always the typical signs of use. It might be the behaviors. That's what I notice most is when my children start acting differently than their normal patterns, going to their room, coming in and going right to the room, or coming in and going right into the shower, or, you know, don't go in there, or ask. Those type of things are flags for a parent, for myself, to kind of do the fact finding that you're talking about. So I think it's more or less just look for you know, each one of us know our children. Look for those moments to where you think they're out of you know, familiar behaviors, and then try to engage at that point.
I think that's awesome that you said those things, because I think a lot of people expect some certain specific signs, and even though you should be aware of those, there's also many ways in which kids can, or anyone can, use substances in a different way.
That's right.
That might not yield those same signs and symptoms. So it's always the behavioral changes that we should be aware of first. And I think also as parents, no one knows their kids better than parents. So they're going to notice those behavioral signs before anybody else notices them.